G'day everyone and welcome back to Starseeds and Patriots of Down Under. And as you've seen in the title is there an afterlife? Do we continue to exist after 3D physicality? Where do we go? When saying that, I would like to just quickly reiterate, to those of you that are joining us today for the first time, I'm Chris, your host, and welcome to my awesome channel. And I'd just like to give everyone a quick touchdown or rundown of basically my first near-death experience, which showed me at 14 years of age, a very long time ago, because I'm now 50, that there is indeed non-physicality, the soul, existing after we leave 3D physicality. Okay, so for those of you that are joining us for the first time, I was hit at 14 years of age by a car crossing a crossroad intersection that was in parallel with a train line, and the car coming along the side street basically hit me and sent me flying down the street 22 meters in the air. And saying that, as much as I have the memory of knowing that my body was flying down the road in the air, and basically on my back too, because I was not sideways, I have the distinct memory of standing in a realm filled with light. Now, at the time, and right up until just recently, I actually thought that I was standing in the presence of Source, the place of origin of where all things come from. I thought I had received such a knock to my body, such a jolt, in a sense that being hit by a car at like roughly 45 kilometers an hour impacted my body and my esoteric astral self as such that it was knocked out of my actual physical self, separated. Okay, and the astral self was in the realm of light that I was speaking. Now, Alex Collier, who I follow intently, and I'm grateful for the recent information that's come to light that he's shared with everyone on a video that's going around. I think it's done a little while ago, where he shared the information about the body and the soul. And when you leave the body, that if you see the light or see this tunnel of light, or you go through it, the tunnel, and go into this realm of light, it's the place where the soul as such gets caught in the matrix of reincarnation and coming back here. So recently I've had my information and my experience, my interpretation, assumption of where I went, corrected by Alex. For over 30 years, I believed that I went to the place of Source, when in fact I actually was at the place of choosing to come back in the soul matrix if I was to die and be reincarnated again and go through birth, etc., and return as being an adult later on, okay, through another set of parents. Okay, but unfortunately for me, I did not die. Okay, I actually was in the air for that brief few moments, felt like an eternity. Okay, until I impacted the road and my astral self was bang back into my body again. Okay, so thank you to Alex Collier for being able to share that information and help me correct my assumption of my experience and my interpretation of what I saw. And I'm thankful and grateful eternally for him to be able to share that information with all of us. So now that we have a little bit more to go on, you know what I mean? I obviously wasn't meant to die, and that I was meant to be here for a purpose. And the fact is that I've seen this same place twice, okay? Once later on down the track during my addiction years, which I've also shared with you. Now, if any of you are curious about hearing my full experience of my near-death experience, I'll leave a link in the description below for you to go back and have a look at, or you can just scroll back onto my videos and go back in the timeline and have a look for my near-death experience. And just click on it, have a look, give it a like, give it a share if you like with your friends. You know, those of you that have had near-death experiences or have had lost, loved ones, etc. So, moving on from that, okay, I would like to just quickly say as well in conclusion to that, it took over, and I've said this before in my previous video, near-death experience, that it took 30-something years before Doctor Strange, was it? No, the new Amazing Spider-Man, No Way Home, okay, came out, and the original Doctor Strange movie as well, where you get to see the astral self through a hard blunt force impact separate from the physical self. Okay, we saw this happen to Doctor Strange in the first movie. We saw it happen to Hulk in Avengers Endgame. Okay, and we also saw it happen to Peter Parker in the new Amazing Spider-Man No Way Home. Okay, and in the No Way Home movie, you hear Doctor Strange actually give a description of what happened to Peter Parker, because he asks, "What the hell is happening here?" And he says straight up, "Don't worry, I've just separated you from your astral self from your physical self. It's perfectly normal." Self-disclosure within a movie, right there, everyone. Okay. And I believe highly what they showed was very accurate as in relation to the astral self, that it is comprised of photonic light. Your astral self is not non-physical, non-corporeal. It has not got the same vibration and frequency as your physical material self. It is a higher frequency itself. Okay. When we leave the body as such, when we die, we go back to that astral form, and if we choose to not come back here into the soul matrix of reincarnation, we choose to turn our back on that light and go back to whatever star system, soul family, or spatial dimension, or time and space that we are supposed to come from. Who knows? It maybe looks like a little bit like that behind me. Who knows? That's what it possibly looks like, with eyes that don't see in 3D anymore. They see above that octave frequency and color spectrum. Okay, we're seeing with astral eyes at that point in time. So I think that's something that we can take from that is, from my experience as such, knowing that Alex has given that information as well now that we can trust as well. Alex is very much a trusted source of information within the disclosure and truth community. I'd like to also share with you another experience. Okay, now this experience is slightly, or it is sad. It is sad, but in my knowing, and what I've experienced now, all through my life up until now, that I can take solace in what I'm about to share with you, and I hope all of you can take solace in this as well, is that our loved ones are never gone. They're all around us. Okay, and I'm going to give you a little bit of proof right now from a story that happened, or from experience that happened to my sister, that is now a very good story to be able to share with all of you, that we truly do go on after life. Okay, and this is actually confirmed by me later on as well. Excuse me, I'll just take a quick sip of my coffee before I start this. Now, back around about 15 and a half years ago, my sister lost her partner to a very horrific accident where Ian, at the time, died of very horrific injuries from a very big impact where he got hit by a car. This is up on the service road to the Edinburgh Hotel in Queensland here, where I live, going north on the Sunshine Coast Highway. This is the service road to the highway where you re-enter the highway. Okay, and on that service road is the Edinburgh Hotel and a few other places, including a fun park, Aussie World. Okay, and Ian's car had broken down on the way home, and yes, he had a couple of injuries under his belt, but not that much, I'm hoping. I mean, I still haven't got the full story of of that part of it, but I'm hoping that he didn't have that many drinks. He was unstable enough to walk out into front of traffic, which I don't think he would be, because I've known him to be very responsible with his drinking as such. He wouldn't let himself get right out of hand. So I don't believe that he walked out into traffic. But what happened was he was hit, and he was sent 15 metres into the bush with compound fractures and other injuries, which I won't describe. It's actually still quite upsetting for me. He died a short time later before they could, get ambulance help to him, and he really didn't die. He died with no one around him that he loved, that loved him. And I can't imagine what would have been going through his mind at that point in time. Okay. And all I can say is bless his soul, and I know that full well through my experiences that I know he's still here. Okay. Now, a couple of days later, myself and my sister and family were sitting at my mum's place, sitting down out the back, and we're sitting around the outdoor table. And at the time, I was still a drinker. I don't drink anymore. My sister was putting Jack to bed in his Porta Cot in the spare room, which used to be my actual bedroom when I lived back at home with my parents for a while. And there was a queen bed in there as well. And Porta Cot was set up right beside the actual queen size bed, closer to the door so that Wendy could get to him if she needed him, if he needed her. And anyway, Wendy's put him to bed. Obviously read him a story. It's hard for my sister, obviously, because she's trying to keep her shit together for Jack as best as she can. She's just lost her partner. Jack's lost her dad. He lost his dad, and you can't imagine how it would be. Just losing someone that you love, just so gone. Here one day, gone the next. Okay, I too am only too familiar with that feeling because I've lost 6 mates all up throughout my lifetime that are all passed on now. May they all rest in peace, but know full well in my heart that they are still elsewhere on an esoteric level, still very much alive and eternal. Now, my sister's just come outside. She sat down after putting Jack to bed, okay, and she's taken her first sip and lit a cigarette, as she did. And then within about 5 minutes, we all heard this scream come from the bedroom. Okay. We knew it was Jack, so we all ran in there, as you would, trying to find out what's going on. My sister was first, she would have to be able to console him. And Wendy was like, "What's wrong, darling? What's wrong, Bubby? Come on, what's up? Let's go back to bed." And he was like, Daddy, Mummy, Daddy. And you can hear it in his voice. He was sad. Okay? And my sister turned and said, like, holding herself together, like, still upsetting for me to talk about still to this day. My sister was like, burst into tears, like instantly tried to hold it back as soon as she come out, because you could see him streaming down her face, and it affected her, Hearing her son crying out for his daddy still upsets me. And my sister was saying, "Daddy's not here, darling. He's not here at the moment." He was like, "No, Mummy, Daddy. Want Daddy." And she was just, you can't imagine it, the scene. It's heartbreaking. I'm trying to hold myself together for you. And anyway, he reiterated again, "Want Daddy, Mummy." And Wendy's like, "Daddy's not here, darling. He's not here." And he was like, "No, Mummy. Daddy there. Daddy there." Can you imagine my face? Like, my sister was just pouring with tears. I've got tears now just talking about it. But this kid, he's 1.5. And he had no need to lie. He has no reason to lie. He doesn't know what a lie is. He knew what he was seeing. That a 1-year-old with his pineal gland still unaffected by calcification or anything like that, still being so young, not exposed to any of the harsh chemicals or things that we've exposed to over a period of a lifetime that calcifies our pineal gland. His pineal gland was open and seeing his father in his astral form sitting there beside him on the queen-size bed where the corner of the bed met the Porta Cot. And he was adamant in his statement in every way. The facial expression was like, "No, Mummy, Daddy there." twice. And I knew within my heart I was no longer needed there. I had to let my sister run the course of her experience and this moment and console her later and re-remind her of my experience so that she could take solace in that outside when she came back out. And I can tell you now, my sister still to this day does not believe. Even through my own experiences and hearing her own 1.5-year-old's experience from his own personal statement and experience seeing his father beside him on the bed where it met the Porta Cot. Okay. And as you can see, my tears are real. I got them. I've got tears because this is a true experience. My sister still does not believe to this day. But here's the funny thing, everyone, is that a week and a half later, I think it was nearly 2 weeks later, we had the funeral. And it was an open casket where he was covered with the netting, etc. I was with my girlfriend at the time, Amy, and she came with me to be my support and pay her respects because her and Ian got on like a house on fire as well. And it was a very sad day because I actually reached into the casket and grabbed his hand and he was just cold as an icicle, like frozen. And they did make up so well to make him look as best in his features as possible to cover the injuries that he'd suffered with his face. There was a few small abrasions and stuff over his face, but the injuries as such with his arms and his legs were made to look as best as possible so that he could be presented for the family. And 2 days after the funeral, I was at work. I used to work for a place called PBL where I used to do horse floats and make them fit and roadworthy for customers so that they can take them and use them for their horses and transport them. So basically general fit out for roadworthiness of a horse float. And I used to do single straight loaders, or sorry, not single, double straight loaders, angle loaders where they used to be all on an angle on one side, or I used to do gooseneck horse floats as well. And whilst I was measuring the floorboards one day, 2 days after the funeral, I was sitting there measuring them up, and in my peripheral vision, whilst I pulled my measuring tape across the wood to mark it up, out of my peripheral vision forward, I could see Ian, clear as day, in the very clothes that he was in the casket, wearing in the casket only 2 days before. Red shirt, blue Levi jeans, white Nikes, sitting there on a set of pallets that had been stacked up, okay, about 4 high. And he was leaning forward on his knees, just watching me work, because obviously he was curious about what I did and he wanted to come and see and be with me at my workplace. Now, you remember, you can travel with the power of a thought once you're outside the physical. So you could be in any place you wanted to instantaneously. And I looked up. I still had my measuring tape measured out and ready to mark up. I put the stop on my measuring tape and I looked up. And in my direct line of sight, he was no longer there. But I put my head back down again and I could see him clear as day through my peripheral vision, which means he was existing outside the color spectrum of what our eyes are able to see directly on. We only see a small sliver of a spectrum, 0.00 or 0 point with 9 zeros after it, 1% of a spectrum that is 0.9999999 nines after it. Okay, we're seeing that small amount out of this much. Okay, out of this much. It's a lot. So here's outside the color spectrum that we can see generally in. Okay, a place that is eternal where he can do and go and see and experience and be whatever he wants to be, or return to his, or now he probably has returned to his soul group or star family or spatial time and dimension. Who knows? I haven't seen him for a long while, okay? But I know full well that those experiences are all interconnected, and I can take solace from that, knowing full well that he is still somewhere out there. And I hope that you too can take solace from those experiences, full well that your loved ones that have passed on, or friends, or family members, animals that you've loved, that are purely like your family. Our animals are like our children as well. That they too still coexist somewhere in the fluidic time. As Einstein, said to us, that time is a fluid, it's fluidic. That's time and space, past, present, and future, all coexist at once. Okay? Spatial dimensions outside of time and space all exist outside of us and is constantly around us at all times. So I hope you can take solace from that. Hopefully, we get to see with eyes that see things like this behind us, outside of our body. And maybe that's what space looks like when you see it in the full spectrum. We don't know. We're only seeing in 0.1%. There's a lot out there. But what I'd like to also share with you today, everyone, as well, is just a short trailer from a documentary that I came across about good 5 years ago. I'm not sure, I can't remember how long ago it was actually made. It was probably made back in the 1990s, judging by the film footage and the apparel that they're wearing, the clothing, the decor in the homes, etc. But this is a video from a documentary called The Afterlife Investigations that's available on a channel on YouTube by the name of UFO TV. This channel has a plethora of different information on multiples of different subjects, ranging from the Yucatan peoples of the Mayan culture, right up to esoteric knowledge, to things on Area 51, Roswell, or Guatemala, and all of those sorts of ancient temples and the Aztec civilizations, the long count Mayan calendar, you name it. You can possibly find it on this channel. There's also ones about Native Americans, and I'll also be sharing some of that information on a later video as well. A very awesome video that they produced on there. The Native American connections to esoteric knowledge and those that come from the stars, or in the Anunnaki saying, the saying from Sumeria, Anunnaki means from heaven to earth, or those who came from heaven to earth. Okay, they have very similar connections, so I'll be sharing that at a later date. But what I'll be doing now is just quickly sharing with you this video trailer, essentially, of the Afterlife Investigations, the Skull Experiment, SCOLE, for you to just go and have a look at and take a little bit away from and discern from, discern as you go through this video and use your intuition and see what resonates with you. And if you like what you see, go over to UFO TV and give them a subscribe if you want, like some of the material that you see in their videos while scrolling, and give them a hit on the notification bell. Hit up the notification bell as well, so you can stay up to date with their videos. Okay, but in saying that, I'm going to pop up the screen right now.
After endless fake ghost TV shows, here at last is a documentary that presents the real evidence.
Manu, are you there? Emily?
Yes.
Yes. Hello, Manu.
The experiments featured in this program have been described after death ever.
We had 1,000 hours of continuous communication with the spirit world.
Be quiet. Marie.
For 5 years, the Skull experiment continued to produce a vast range of extraordinary phenomena, more than in any other experiment in the history of the paranormal. And scientists and investigators.
I must stress, it changes your paradigm.
What they claim to have seen and recorded is so shocking that many will find it unbelievable.
The table levitated and began to spin very rapidly. I'm not at all convinced that there is such a thing as life after death.
In the US, we put psychic Alison Dubois, the inspiration behind the hit TV show Medium, to the test. Could she communicate with one of the leading skull researchers after his tragic death?
Is there a doctor in the house?
And we meet this woman.
I'll just never be this age again.
She says she can pick up the voice of her dead son on this simple tape recorder. With Marcello Bacci, one of the world's most unusual mediums. For decades, grieving parents say they can talk to their dead children via his radio. Although the experiments featured in this program provide scientific evidence for the possibility of life after death, most of the public know nothing about them. This is the first time both the Skull Group and Bacci have allowed their work to be shown together in a TV documentary.
There has, in my view, never been anything like that at all, ever.
Sorry about that. There was a glitch there for a second in removing that from the stage. So, what did you think about that trailer, everyone? I'll leave that link in the description as well for that actual video, so you can go and check it out for yourselves and just take from it what you will, and discern along the way. Resonate with what resonates with you, take away from it. But I know full well from my own experiences and what I witnessed there, the scientific proof and evidence that they display and present resonates very much within me, and knowing full well the information that I've learned along the way about other topics such as quantum physics and things like that, all fits within the whole narrative there. And I hope that you can, once watching this video, will give you a greater understanding esoterically in relation to how we are eternal. Our soul is connected to source. We're a multi-dimensional fractalized being that is always present. It's a presence. It's always eternal. We continue on after the physical, and that hopefully, if after watching this video and whatever experiences that you might have had, you can now have a greater understanding as to the fact that we do continue. Okay. Now, I'd like to just also quickly share with you, while I've got you, just some pictures of, well, first of all, I'd like to share this picture here. This is a picture of an orb that was, it's not one of the photos that I've taken as such, but this was shared online a few years ago, and I thought this was a very beautiful picture where you can see clearly a face within the orb. Okay. Now, this is not photoshopped in any way. This is just a close-up of what was taken. This is another photo of a being coming through. Okay, this is not any form of photoshops in any way. These are actual photos that you can find online for yourselves. This is how they choose to appear to us, okay, through light. Here's one of what you would call, being light filtered through the trees, but the shape that it's taken looks quite angelic, don't you think, with wings and an actual physical body? You can see it, the legs there and everything. Head, wings in between. It's just beautiful. Now, also, in another video that I'll be sharing upon later on, is a child prodigy painter by the name of Archeon Chromatic. Okay, and at the age of, I think it was 9 or 10, she painted one of the most amazing pictures that I've ever seen, most beautiful renditions of Jesus Yeshua I have ever seen, and knew full well that when I saw this face in this picture, as beautifully painted as it is, that it gives Michelangelo a run for his money, that I was looking at the true face of Jesus Yeshua, not the Roman Catholic Church of what they depict on the cross to be Jesus Yeshua, because they are not one and the same being. I mean, for one, he's white. Okay, that's a big indication. Okay, Jesus was King of the Jews. He had dark skin, dark hair. Okay, he was a beautiful man. But I won't show that picture as such today. But what I will share for you is some paintings that Archean did. I'll save the picture of Jesus Yeshua that she painted for another special video for a later date. But I'll share with you today some paintings that she's done over the years of her interpretations from visions that she's had whilst awake and asleep in her dreams, where she has seen and experienced heaven outside of her own body, okay, whilst growing up. And this is how she interprets it through painting. Very much similar to what you see behind me here. Have a look at the beauty and wonder of this awesome artist's hand. Now, this is not a very good copy of what she has produced. I mean, when you see it, it looks a lot like what's behind me as my screen behind me. Okay, but that is very, very beautiful, esoteric, or above 3D, because we don't see things like that in 3D with our eyes. But if that's how you see with 5D and how the universe looks, I think it's absolutely beautiful. This is another one that she did. And her vision of heaven. Isn't that beautiful? But it very much co-aligns with a lot of what is described by those that have died, come back and seen, outside their bodies. Other people have experienced through out-of-body experiences, visions, dreams. Okay, absolutely amazing what she has painted. And remember, this woman, she's a young woman now. She's, I think, 23, maybe 24 years of age. I'm not sure. I'll have to find out between now and the next video where I actually present her work to share with all of you. But most of these have been done over the last few years, leading into her 20s. This, for me, is what I'll describe to say as being the second coming, not only of Christ, but Christ's consciousness upon all of us, also with the entourage of the grand armies of the heavens that shall return at the end of days. Not the end of our days either, everyone. The end of their days. Okay? But take what you will from those. I hope that you like some of those paintings of Archean's, just showing you her from her visual perspective, from dreams and visions that she's had and out-of-body experiences. Her interpretations of heaven were very similar to what we see behind me. Okay, and that these beings can appear to us in different forms as well, such as light being filtered through the trees, or orbs as such being, having a face. I've seen another photo. I wish I could have found it for this particular presentation, where I've got a picture of an orb where there is an actual deer with antlers fully visible, looking straight back at the camera, appearing as an orb. So souls as such travel as these spirits, and Native Americans and Australian and Indigenous people have described this, in many different cultures around the planet have described spirits and souls coming through as bright orbs or spheres in ceremonial circles and things in the past. So we can take great solace from these sorts of things and know full well that there is a continuance after 3D physicality, and that there is some place that we do go. We get to choose to a degree. We ask the universe to take us back to where we essentially come from, and we go there. There is an existence after 3D physicality. There is an afterlife. So in saying that, everyone, I hope that you've enjoyed today and what I've been able to present for you, and hope you've liked the trailer for the Skull Experiment, the Afterlife Investigations, and go over to UFO TV and give them a subscribe and a like, and give them a share, and hit that notification bell. Do the same for me while you're at it as well, if you can, just to get our videos out past the algorithms of YouTube, because the shadow banning is still quite heinous and stopping us from getting to a wider audience, and it really helps us get out there a little bit more, and we'd be very much appreciative of it too. But in saying that, everyone, I'm Chris, your host, signing out, and I hope you've enjoyed the story of my sister's experience, as much as it may be sad, but take solace from that not only has Jack seen it, I saw it. Okay, only 2 days after the funeral, and that confirms Jack's experience. Take solace from that, that your loved ones too, no matter if they've passed on recently or many, many years ago, they too will be there on the day of your passing, waiting for you to help you transition over from one state of matter to another and show you the way. Okay? I know full well that my grandmother will be waiting for me as well, because I've seen and experienced her. That's my father's mother. I've seen her when I was roughly 12 years of age, looking at me through the French doors of my mother's bedroom out on the patio. I saw her clear as day whilst I was awake. So I'm hoping that you can take solace from that and know that your loved ones are always around you and never have left you. You are never going to be alone. We never are alone. They are always here, guiding us and watching over us and loving us from the other side. Take care, everyone. I love you all. I'll see you next time.